Welcome back, everybody. Another episode. Today we're just talking football. I decided I want to focus on making NFL content. I know that, there will be more, UFL content, more other stuff to talk about on this line. But I just want to focus on the NFL. I know that rookies are reporting now. So we're just going to focus on the NFL and just the NFL right now alone. Because essentially just a future goal is to just always talk about the NFL. Some rookies finally signed their contracts, considering Luther Burden Jr. and a couple other guys. So that's the thing. Quinyon Junkins, it's still in a pretty, very, very bad mix. A lot of trade speculations are heating up. A lot of rumors also heating up. So we're just gonna discuss that. We're gonna discuss quarterbacks, not the top five, not rankings, but who's who, where's where, what's going on, and a lot more. So buckle up, sit down, and we're gonna hop right in. Alright, so now some news going around the NFL. We, of course, know about Quinyon Junkins. It's looking like he's not going to report to training camp. Big whoop. Probably might not even play a snap of NFL football because of the domestic battery, and it's not a good sign. But at the same time, Henry Ruggs might be able to play in the NFL pretty soon. Now, news going around. Rookies are now signing, and they will be attending training camp. We got running back R.J. Harvey just signed with the Broncos. Trayon Henderson just signed with the Patriots. Signed a fully guaranteed 4 years, $11 million contract. Tyler Shaw signs a fully guaranteed contract with the New Orleans Saints, putting him on that roster finally. And of course, Luther Burden Jr. signs a fully guaranteed contract with the Chicago Bears. And Luther Burden has also been working with Justin Jefferson lately. I don't know if a lot of people saw that, but he's doing route work with Justin Jefferson. They might be really good buds. Who knows? Now, is Shaw worth the money that they're giving him? No, not entirely. I don't even think he starts week one. He's a 26-year-old rookie quarterback. Is he worth a fully guaranteed contract? No, because if he sucks and now no one has to pay for essentially just paying a fully guaranteed contract to a quarterback, that's not good. It's like in the NBA when you have a contract buyout. It's like that, but the money goes nowhere. The team can't keep the money. They just have to let it sit in dead cap. They can't sign anyone. That's what really sucks about this deal. That's what really sucks about not agreeing up front or at first. That's the worst part about it is, A, it could hurt the team if he's not good or if there's no value having him on the team. And B, why couldn't you guys work anything out in the first place to where this is the issue? This is a problem. Now you're struggling with this. Now everybody's making reports. I'm the expert. Why are you paying him this? It's just not a good look when you sign him this late. But of course, I'm not the expert. There's not a lot to go around. Of course, we're going to hop into that Saints quarterback room soon. We're going to hop into also a few, quarterback rooms. All 32 teams around the league. We're going to talk about their quarterbacks, what they bring, who they are, and what they're doing. I feel like I'm going to start off, going by division. But of course, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to mention some guys who are going to be like, duh, of course, he's a starter. His backup, what does his backup have to offer? And blah, blah, blah. Now, the biggest part about all of this is a lot of these names I'm going to mention might not even be on the roster come week one. They might be on a completely different team. They might get traded tomorrow. So I'm recording this on Friday. And we're just going to dive right into it. So with the Bills, we're going to start there. They got Josh Allen. Of course, he's a starting quarterback. He's been a starting quarterback for the past 5 years. MVP, all this, and that. Behind him, because like every quarterback, they need somebody behind him. A backup is a great investment because you don't know what happens. Josh Allen, last play training camp. This has happened before. Non-contact, out for the season. It's happened before. So having a good backup, Mitch Trubisky, I wouldn't say is a great backup, but he can come in and win the game here and there. He's like a Kenny Pickett, because Kenny Pickett did that or Trubisky did that for Pickett once. Trubisky, Mike White behind him, or Mike White and Trubisky might of course fight for that QB spot, and then Shane Bueller. Bueller spent time with Kansas City. Bueller's mainly just been a backup. Some quarterbacks are just meant to be transferring backups. They just go from team to team to team, and they just offer their services over there. Or they just use an extra body. It happens. It's normal. It goes all across the NFL. In New England, they got Drake May. Drake May is, of course, a starter. I feel like that 2024 draft class for quarterbacks is probably the best quarterback class in the past 20 years. I will be dead honest. I don't see this many quarterbacks coming to year two starting. as much as came in last year. We're of course gonna get the other quarterbacks, but it's just not normal. That's just not common. That's really not. You don't see it in a lot of draft classes. Behind him is Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs, of course, spent time with the 49ers last year and spent time with the Minnesota Vikings before that. Josh Dobbs is, he's going to travel. He's going to come in when he needs to. There will be times where Drake May struggles or when Drake May is not going to play a game. Josh Dobbs is good to have on the roster in New England. And then Ben Woolridge, not a lot to really say about him, undrafted free agent. I don't even know if he's going to, well, you don't know, but we're just going to see what goes on over there. In Miami, of course, they got the starter Tua Tagovailoa, but they're putting pressure on him. There's going to be pressure on Tua because he's been underperforming last year. Didn't really do incredibly great, as we all thought he'd perform. He's still performing at a good level, fantasy wise, or he's playing at a good level, but it's not enough to win. So they brought in Zach Wilson in free agency, but then they also drafted Quinn Ewers. Now Quinn Ewers, of course, played his collegiate ball, where he started over in Ohio State and then transferred to Texas back in 2022. And then he played a couple seasons, nothing too crazy, nothing went on too well. 3 seasons later, he enters the draft and he finds himself over in Miami. Now, do we see him as a potential starter in the future? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like there's possibility for that, but at the same time, I don't know. And then Brett Gabbert, of course, he's related to Blaine Gabbert, quarterback out of Miami, Ohio, first year. I don't know a lot what we're going to see. Of course, we're going to see him play in the preseason. We'll see him in the preseason, and then I feel like I'm going to go from there. But I don't think he's going to get talked about on the show again. And then Justin Fields for the Jets. They, of course, brought him that 2-year, $40 million contract. Pretty massive. We'll see. We'll see about Justin Fields because he's coming in the year, 6? Year 5. He's coming in year 5. Another year as a starter, okay? It's a similar story with Trevor Lawrence. We're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence a little bit later. But Trevor Lawrence is coming into year 5 or 6? And it's, the storyline is he hasn't fully developed. He needs his chance. We're going to see him play mature football. It's year 6, buddy. This isn't this isn't oh my gosh, he has setbacks, he has this, he has that. Trevor Lawrence has won football games. Trevor Lawrence has won playoff games. But the consistency has never been there. Liam Cohen comes in as the quarterback, or the head coach, after being offensive coordinator over in Jacksonville, after spending some time after being offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay. We'll get into that a little bit later. But Justin Fields right now is this complete opposite of that, because everybody's Fields already had his chance, Fields did this, Fields did that. I feel like at some point you got to realize, look, he wasn't the problem in Chicago. He went 4-2 in Pittsburgh, and when he was used in Pittsburgh, not starting, he was also very effective. He brought an extra element in Pittsburgh to where they can run a 2-system quarterback, 2-quarterback system. Though it's common. It's very common. Justin Fields is he's a good quarterback. He's genuinely a good talent. He didn't fully develop in Chicago. That's partially on him. That's also on good old Matt Eberflus. And he comes into this New York offense, and this offense looks genuinely good. They just re-signed or extended Garrett Wilson to a 4-year, $130 million contract. They brought in other receivers, other weapons, and this offense looks good. Of course, it's not as good as that Chicago offense is going to look, which we're going to get into. But with Justin Fields, it genuinely looks good. It looks like there's no excuse if he doesn't perform. That's all I really have to say about that. Behind him is Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor, the experienced veteran, spent some time there last year. Didn't really do a lot because, Aaron Rodgers is their guy, or was their guy. When Rodgers was their guy, of course, he didn't really do a lot. Came in a few times, did a little bit of this, did a little bit of that. But genuinely, Tyrod's also a really good quarterback. Tyrod, I feel like if need comes to it, those Justin Fields struggles are still there. He can come in and play just fine. We all know this. We all know that he could come in and play just fine and win them games. And then behind him is Brady Cook out of Missouri. Of course, Brady Cook went undrafted. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see Brady Cook. I'm gonna watch him in the preseason. I'm very excited to see genuinely what he can do. He's a very good quarterback too. So I'm excited for that. And then Birmingham Stallions legend Adrian Martinez is sitting right behind, or I mean, he'll be competing right there beside with Brady Cook and Tyrod Taylor for that quarterback spot. And he's also a really good quarterback. Adrian Martinez genuinely is good. He beat out Austin Peasley for the quarterback 3 spot last year. Spent a lot of time on the practice squad. Didn't get any action. But I feel like at this point he might go somewhere else because he's fully developed as an NFL quarterback. So now it's like if he doesn't perform, it's like back to UFO for you. You know, that's practically how I feel about this. That's probably how I feel about Martinez right now. And then we're gonna jump over to another division of the North, and the AFC. Baltimore is the starting point, and we all know Lamar Jackson's a starter. It's like with a good handful of teams, we know who their QB1 is, but their QB2 is just as important. It's a very big investment in your quarterback, so you can't be jumping around, putting this guy there, putting that guy there, because something happens to where the starter goes down. Tyler Huntley, I mean, Lamar Jackson's had a history of coming down and getting injured. Tyler Huntley had to come in and play. Josh Johnson had to come in and play at one point. And they didn't just play, they started games because while Lamar's on the same team as well, they had to start the games because Lamar's injured. And sitting behind Lamar is Cooper Rush. And Cooper Rush is, I don't know if he's a product of the system or he just works well around or he just works well with who's around him. There's a difference. Because that system was not good in Dallas. And I wouldn't say he was a product of the system, more of he worked good with CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, the guys around him at the skill position set. That's what Cooper Rush is. And having Zay Flowers, Rashard Bateman over there, and then of course, Tez Walker, who hopefully, pulls something out this year and just plays great. He's not a product of the system. He works well with who's around him. They elevate him, and he just plays exceptionally well football. That's genuinely what Cooper Rush is. That's how he plays his game. He's not generational quarterback talent. He's not a great quarterback. But if you give him a good skill set around him, he'll come and win games. We saw that in 2022. We saw it with the Dallas Cowboys. We saw him do that last year too. In a handful of games, he did that. So there's no reason why he doesn't come into Baltimore if Lamar gets hurt and then he doesn't win games. That shouldn't happen. He should definitely be winning games. Does not matter who they play. If they go up against Cincinnati, they're up against Joe Burrow. I could expect him to beat Joe Burrow. Because the people around him could elevate him to play better. Now, just in case it doesn't work out with Cooper Rush, I mean, I'm pretty sure they signed somebody else. But they also got Devin Leary. Leary, of course, played his collegiate ball at Kentucky. And he's been on the ups and downs of his career. But, of course, entering his second year in the NFL. I'm excited to see what that one is. Not a lot of words. But next, we got, probably the smartest quarterback room across the NFL in the Cincinnati Bengals. Led by Joe Burrow, of course. But behind him is Jake Browning. And Jake Browning is literally just another version of Joe Burrow. Jake Browning is a very smart, safe bet at quarterback. I would literally trust Jake Browning to lead a game-winning drive. Not just as much as I trust Joe Burrow. I feel like Joe Burrow can definitely do 100%. But Jake Browning could definitely do it. Browning could also do it too. Now, I wouldn't trust him as much. But Browning can. Browning plays a similar style of quarterback and plays in the same system. That's the best, that's literally the best part about the Bengals right now. Is let's say something happens to Burrow again, like it happened in 23. They got Jake Browning. Now, just in case something happens to Jake Browning, they got a quarterback who plays just like the both of them, and that's Logan Woodside. Logan Woodside, of course, played in the AAF. He's been in the NFL since 2018, and he's been across the NFL. He's been around the NFL, and he's very well seasoned. He's a good veteran, and he just plays football smart. I don't think he could do the game-winning drive as good as Browning. Nowhere near as good as Burrow, but he's a good quarterback too. He's a safe bet at the quarterback 3 option. There's a reason why he's been on the team for the past 2 seasons. He's a safe bet. And behind him is Peyton Thorne out of Auburn, and Thorne is just another Joe Burrow, to where they can feed him into the system, he becomes a product, and he just plays emergency ball. But he'll probably spend some time on the practice squad. I don't really think he does anything. And then Cleveland, it's, of course, 5-way quarterback battle, blah, blah, blah. But they're two important highlights: Shador Sanders and Kenny Pickett. Now, this is not my words, but they traded for Kenny Pickett. They made sure to get him. He was on the top of their priority list. That meant sending Dorian Thompson Robinson and a pick to get Kenny Pickett. Right after that, they signed Joe Flacco. They could have signed Joe Flacco first and then traded a little bit less to get Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was their first. He was the top on their priority. And then in the NFL draft, in the third round, the 91st pick, they took Dylan Gabriel. A couple rounds later, pick 144, Shador Sanders gets drafted. They're insurance blankets. That's all Flacco and Shador are. So really, we're talking about quarterback 1 and 2. It's Dylan Gabriel. It's Kenny Pickett. That's going to be the true quarterback battle coming into training camp. Because they made sure they had their priority guys, the guys they wanted to get set. Because Kenny Pickett's beaten Cleveland before. Kenny Pickett's not a terrible quarterback. I don't know where all this talk about him not being good is. He's not terrible. He's really not terrible. And then Dylan Gabriel, there's a lot of. He was supposed to be a Heisman runner up in Oregon. Did not happen at all. Did not play like it at all. But Dylan Gabriel is not he's not a safe bet. But come week 1, I would genuinely expect Kenny Pickett to start, and then Joe Flacco right behind him, and of course Deshaun Watson will be ready to play football in October. But at the same time, I don't know. I really don't know. And then in Pittsburgh, they brought in Aaron Rodgers. So make some notes on this one. Aaron Rodgers signs a contract based on incentives on how the team does itself. Not on how he plays, not on how the people around him play, but how the team plays itself. Which means he's there to win. This is no joke. He's there to win. That's all I have to say about this. They brought in all the pieces. This is literally like a Dak Prescott version of The Last Dance, in some ways to say it. But all the pieces aren't entirely there. But in reality, it's interesting. It's an interesting perspective. Mason Rudolph is also sitting behind him. Rudolph coming back to Pittsburgh after spending a year over in Tennessee. And that was really, really a mess over there. And then Will Howard, they drafted Will Howard. And then Skylar Thompson, who might, battle it out. Will Howard being a 6th-round draft pick and all that. I really like Will Howard. I think Will Howard's a good quarterback. Generational, I don't think so. I don't think he's generational, but I think he's a really good quarterback. I really do like him as well at the quarterback position. But I just won't know. Now we're going to jump divisions. We're going to go over to the AFC South. With CJ Stroud starting off the way in the Houston Texans, we all know he's quarterback 1. We all know. Everyone in the league knows. Everyone in the league knows who's starting week 1. That's CJ Stroud. Unless some injury happens, they got Davis Mills. But we all know what's going on in Houston. There ain't no way there's going to be, no. We all know what's going on there. And then, of course, Davis Mills that I talked about. But also, they got Keaton Slovis. They brought him in, and Slovis was spending some time over in Indy last year, and now he finds himself over in Houston. And then Graham Mertz. I'm not familiar with his name at all. When we get into Indy, Daniel Jones is expected to be the starter come week 1. Not super surprised. Daniel Jones, I feel like he's had some time to grow and develop over Minnesota, being under a quarterback-first offense for the first time in his career. You'll realize he had Joe Judge as his head coach when he came to the NFL. Let that sink in. Pat Shurmur, Joe Judge. And then he finally had an offensive-minded coach. And what happened? They went to the playoffs. They won a couple games. Daniel Jones isn't terrible. Daniel Jones is not a terrible quarterback at all. And then Anthony Richardson is expected to clear to play and compete in training camp with Daniel Jones, but of course Jones is most likely going to start week 1. This is a weird one, but Anthony Richardson also hasn't been awful. I don't think like Richardson's been terrible this year, at all. And that's not me talking as a biased Anthony Richardson. Like I genuinely like Anthony Richardson as a quarterback, as a person as well. He's genuinely a good person. I don't think he's been bad at all. And you're like, oh, Flacco comes in, he has just as much success. No, he did not. Anthony Richardson, reminder, his first year he was great as a starter. Of course, he gets injured, and they have insurance at quarterback with Gardner Minshew and all that. The offense is good. Josh Downs and Michael Pittman. Downs could possibly at the end of the season find himself being probably the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL possibly at the end of the season. There's room for growth right there. That running back room is always going to be good. The ground game is always going to be good. So I feel like it's really just up to how they play in training camp, how they perform in training camp. And let's say Anthony Richardson wins the quarterback battle. He has Daniel Jones breathing down his neck at any point, rather week 1 to week 18. Daniel Jones will be breathing down his neck if he wins the quarterback battle. They can go 10-0 and he still has Daniel Jones breathing down his neck. That's how much of a level of threat that but they have the insurance. Joe Flacco wasn't the best insurance to have, because came week 5, he got benched. Flacco gets a start against Minnesota. What do you think happened? What do you think happens when a 40-year-old quarterback starts against a top 5 defense? What did they think was going to happen? But of course, he got benched for good reason. It wasn't a performance issue at all, because I don't think he was playing bad at all. It was, he subbed himself out when he was tired in that one game against Houston, and that really did not pay out well. And that's really it over in that quarterback battle. I know there's a quarterback 3 battle as well, maybe even a quarterback 2. I don't know how it goes, but Jason Bean and Riley Leonard, of course, coming out of Notre Dame into that spot to play quarterback 2. And of course, Jason Bean spent there last year coming out of Illinois, and was like he impressed. He really impressed. But over in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence is quarterback 1. I talked a little bit about how you spent 6 years as a starter, you do this, you do that. Guys, he's won playoff games, and he's shown he could win at a high level. The problem is he's inconsistent, and he still makes reads like college quarterbacks. He's playing in college. He's a good quarterback. I will not lie. He's a great quarterback. There's no insurance behind him just in case something happens. Because who's behind him is John Wolford and Nick Mullins. John Wolford, of course, was breathing down. John Wolford, of course, spent some time with the Rams back a couple of years ago in 2019 and 2020. To where he even came in to start a week 11 game? Was it? It was a week 17 game, which got them into the playoffs, and then almost beat. And then, of course, was about to beat Seattle, and then got ended up getting benched, or not benched, getting injured, and Jared Goff took him to the win. It's not a bad quarterback at all, not at all. John Wolford. But if Trevor Lawrence does not play well, there's no insurance. Seth Hennigan is not the other guy. Nick Mullins is not that guy. John Wolford is not that kind of guy. There's no insurance at all. I don't know where this thought that either of those do anything. Of course, Liam Cohen, of course, spent some time working with Baker Mayfield, working with Bryce Young, working with Geno Smith. He's very impressed. He has an impressive resume. But if these same woes happen, there's no insurance in Jacksonville. That's the problem. So what I'm talking about these quarterbacks is because let's say something would happen to. Okay, let's say he just genuinely just sucks this year and you need to bench him. Nick Mullins isn't winning you games. John Wolford isn't winning you games. You're best off sticking with Trevor Lawrence. I'm gonna be honest. In Tennessee, right now, they got Cam Ward starting week 1. If anything happens to Cam Ward, have Will Levis to come in, and Will Levis can possibly win 2 or 3 games extra. Okay, he can win him a couple extra games. He didn't play like he had his moments last year where he was bad, yes, but he's had a lot of time for improvement, a lot of room for growth. He's still a good quarterback. Like I feel like Levis, that was his first year as a starter. Like it's okay. Like you can suck your first year as a starter. You can get benched your first year as a starter. That's okay. Cam Ward could get benched his first year as a starter. That's fine. Doesn't mean anything bad to get your benched your first year as a starter. It doesn't mean anything bad at all. There's only room for growth. So let's say anything happens to Cam Ward, or he just gets benched, okay? They got Will Levis. Will Levis can come in and win a couple extra games. They got Brandon Allen behind them. Brandon Allen can come and win a couple extra games. He's done it before. But he's mainly just embraced his role as a backup, and he'll probably continue his career as a backup. He's over Tennessee as well. And then, bro, give it up. They got Tim Boyle behind him. Tim Boyle is just not. Just give it up already. Come on, just how's Tim Boyle on a roster, and Bryce Perkins is not? It doesn't make sense. It genuinely it does not make sense. And then Denver, what we're gonna see in Denver is probably going to see in the next 5 years, and that's with Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, and Sam Ehlinger. We're gonna see it for the next 2 years. They're gonna keep things the same. They keep the offense the same. We see that at a couple of teams where the offenses looked exactly the same last year at the quarterback spot as they'll look this year, and it'll look like that next year. And then Kansas City, we know the starters in KC. We all know who the starter in Kansas City is. And they got Gardner Minshew, who they added in the offseason behind him. Chris Olodokin and Bailey Zappe, and Zappe is in his second year or his third year, my bad. His third year in Kansas City. Not a lot to really say about that one. But in the Raiders, my bad. The Las Vegas Raiders is the next one. Geno Smith is quarterback 1. Aiden O'Connell is quarterback 2. And they got Cam Miller at quarterback 3. At the 3 spot is Cam Miller. Now, Cam Miller has probably a high chance to play this year. The 5th-year senior out of North Dakota State University. Of course, all-time leading passer in North Dakota State, which is like a big deal. But it was like, bro, you spent 5 years there. Of course, you need to be the leading passer because you spent way too long there not to. Guys, I think he can honestly be a starter come week 17. He could be starting in a Raiders uniform. Rather, it comes in a Geno injury, and O'Connell just sucks. We could see him start. Of course, they also have the man, the myth, the legend, Pete Carroll starting at the head coach position. I'm curious. Of course, I know they don't have the best roster, to be honest. It's enough on the Raiders side, though, because not a lot to really talk about there. Chargers, though, Justin Herbert is a starter. They brought Trey Lance in, but of course, I expect Taylor Heineke to be the backup. And then DJ Uiagalelei, of course, infamous. I don't think he plays a single snap in the NFL at all. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth of it. And then in the NFC, we get into the NFC finally. Dak Prescott is the starter in Dallas. Okay? But Dak Prescott, like a similar role if Anthony Richardson would happen to win the quarterback battle. Like a similar role if Aaron Rodgers just doesn't perform. You got Joe Milton right down your back, breathing right down your neck. Just waiting. He's 26. Guys, Joe Milton he's a mature quarterback. He had to get traded after his rookie year. That says enough. He's ready. He's ready to play. The Cowboys didn't trade up for Joe Milton for no reason. If he can't perform, if Dak can't perform and play like he usually does, or if he's just not getting it done, Joe Milton's coming in, and Joe Milton will be starting. Joe Milton will take over. And that's just the truth. Even if he's good in the preseason or not, Milton is ready. Joe Milton will just come in and take over. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. He's 26, guys. He's fully developed. He's fully mature as a quarterback. He's ready. He's perfectly fine. And then Will Greer's behind him. Of course, Will Greer's had a lot of history with the Dallas Cowboys. They let him go back in 2022 or 2023, my bad. They purposely let him walk in 2023 just to bring on Trey Lance. Not enough said there. And with the Giants, I feel like the biggest start or the biggest piece we have to talk about is Jackson Dart. Okay, Jackson Dart had a very, very poor game, which ended up getting them eliminated from the playoffs. Very, very poor game against the Florida Gators, where he just did not have it. He really didn't have it, and it really sucks. Like, he genuinely was not playing good football at all. And there's talks about him being a top 5 draft pick immediately after that. And no, he's not. He's not good. He's not good. He's not good. He was not good at Ole Miss. He took way too long to develop. Didn't even win him a bowl game. His senior year to be specific. And he's a top 5 draft pick. Of course, he wasn't a top 5 draft pick. Of course, does not make sense. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are battling it out though. I feel like we might see. We're gonna see Russ start week 1. It's obvious. And then Tommy DeVito is just there because Giants culture. And then in Washington, Jaden Daniels starting. But behind him is Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota will always be behind Jaden Daniels at the quarterback position unless something happens. And then Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman are both right there. And then in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts is a starter. It's obvious, come on. But just in case something happens to Jalen Hurts, like some stuff that's happened a couple years ago, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, mark my words, will come in. Dorian Thompson-Robinson will definitely come in. And then you got Kyle McCord right behind him, and you got Tanner McKee. But not a lot that's like super, super impressive over there. In Chicago, you got Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, I feel like, is the best quarterback out of last year's draft class. I would take Caleb Williams over Jay Daniels any day. As a Commanders fan myself, I will take Caleb Williams over Jay Daniels any day. I would have wanted him. And you got Case Keenum and Tyson Bagent. Both very, very impressive quarterbacks. And then Austin Reed. And then in Detroit, Jared Goff. Now, like Joe Milton, like Will Howard will be this year too, Hendon Hooker was drafted to essentially come in and play if Jared Goff did not play good. That was the whole reason why he was drafted to the Detroit Lions in 3rd or 2nd round, around in that timeline. I don't know. That whole purpose was just to breathe down Jared Goff's neck if Goff didn't perform. Hooker, you're in. Well, what happened ever since then? Goff's been on a generational run, been in MVP talks, played in the NFC Championship game, put the team in the playoffs, just played lights out football. That's what getting a player like that, bringing him to the organization does. I've seen that time in and time out. It's nothing new. If your quarterback does not perform, there's a reason why they draft him. That's not a reason why Jordan Love was drafted to the Packers. But when you bring in a quarterback like that, the starter will genuinely play lights out football. Maybe even get the team to the Super Bowl. We've seen it happen numerous times. And in Green Bay, I mean, of course, the Lions also have Kyle Allen, just in case anybody was like curious. But Jordan Love's the quarterback 1. Malik Willis is behind him. The whole reason they got Malik Willis was just because Willis needed to get out of Tennessee. And ever since he went out of Tennessee, he's been good. He's been playing incredible football. And then Sean Clifford, of course. Sean Clifford has been a career, well, since 2023. He's been a backup for Jordan Love. And then Tyler Eldersma, I don't even know who the hell that is. And Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy, Sam Howell, Brett Rippon, and Brock Breismer. Now, one thing Minnesota always does right is manage their offseason. They always bring in great talent, rather that be people around the board, rather that be people that they bring in free agency, rather that be a trade they'd make. They're always smart in the offseason. The biggest part is letting Sam Darnold go somewhere else and bringing in Sam Howell. Sam Howell's a good quarterback. He's genuinely a good quarterback. No, he's not. I lied. J.J. McCarthy, just in case there's no performance issue. I talked about having insurance. Well, they have insurance just in case he's not good. And that's in Sam Howell. That's what teams will do. That was the whole point of bringing Sam Darnold in. Just in case, this McCarthy guy's not ready. We have, because that team is built to win now. Minnesota's always been built to win now. If JJ can't do it, Sam Howell can do it better. I don't know if he genuinely could, but he could do it. He could do it better. And over in the South, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the whole point of the Falcons to bring in Michael Penix was for him to sit and start. But when Kirk Cousins, of course, didn't play. I mean, of course, he had his times. He had his times where he was playing great football and he playing low football. But of course, when you're in that low and you can't, like, you're struggling to get out that low, and they have a guy who's ready, why are they gonna wait? As I told you, Hendon Hooker was brought in when Jared Goff was playing to breathe down his neck. That's what Michael Penix was on for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was just not playing well, and Penix was just sitting right there, and he was ready. And when, of course, he had a struggle, they put Penix in. Penix played well. Cousins is gone. Well, he's still there, of course, but sitting behind Ella, making $27 million a year, sitting on the bench, that's where Kirk Cousins is, and that's where Michael Penix is making a lot less. But at the quarterback one, and for the quarterback three spot is Emory Jones and Easton Stick battling it out. Easton Stick is genuinely not good. He's at the same talent level of Tim Boyle. That's how good he is. And then Carolina, Bryce Young, quarterback one. Not a lot to say. Andy Dalton sitting right behind him. And Ethan Garbers and Jack Plummer. Not a lot to say. We know. We all know. We can move on with that one. The Saints, they recently just signed Tyler Shuck. Not good. Not good at all. Spencer Rattler is battling it out with him, Hendon Hooker, with Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shaw, and Jay Kaner. I expect after training camp to be done, after preseason to be done, Jay Kaner's cut from the team. He literally has just as much talent as Desmond Ridder. I expect him to be cut. It's just a reality. It's harsh. It's true. And then Hunter Deckers, the Division III quarterback, might actually find himself playing in the regular season at some point. And Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, he's quarterback one. Okay, we know. But of course, you need to have insurance just in case he goes down, or I guess he sucks. I don't know what year 3 looks like for him. But they got Michael Pratt and Kyle Trask. They'll battle out for quarterback too. We'll see a lot of them in the preseason. I genuinely don't think he played that bad in Green Bay last year at all. But we'll see Michael Pratt there. And then Connor Basilick. I don't know. And then over in the West? The NFC West. Kyler Murray, Jacoby Brissett, and Clayton Tune in Carolina and Arizona. I don't know. In LA, the Rams, they got Matt Stafford, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Stetson Bennett, the exact same 3 quarterbacks they had last year. Of course, this time, Garoppolo's not facing a 3-game suspension, and they could still play Stetson Bennett and let him develop. Guys, Bennett's 27 years old. The very young man out of Georgia. We can still see him develop. I think Stetson Bennett genuinely is a good talent. And, who knows? I mean, every quarterback in the NFL is a good talent, except Tim Boyle. In the 49ers, they got Brock Purdy. This is where it gets interesting. They drafted Curtis Rourke in the 7th round. He's going to most likely battle out for the backup spot with Mac Jones. And then Tanner Mordecai, the quarterback out of SMU. Not SMU, I remember where. I remember exactly where he was playing. But, of course, you got Tanner Mordecai at that quarterback 4 position. I don't think he really plays a lot in the regular season at some point. And ended off Seattle. They got Sam Darnold, Drew Lock, and then Lock will most likely battle out that quarterback spot with Jalen Milroe. But like Joe Millen, like Hendon Hooker was, like Michael Penix was, I'm trying to look for another example. Hold up. I guess like Will Howard will do, like Shedeur Sanders will do, like Daniel Jones might do. Hell with it, like Nick Mullins might do. If Sam Darnold doesn't perform, Jalen Milroe is breathing down his neck. Jalen Milroe is going to be there. Jalen Milroe might play like a similar Taysom Roll style. I feel like Taysom Roll as a quarterback is a good comparison, I guess. But we know, like, if Darnold doesn't perform, he's breathing down his neck. And Like he should be too, because if he's not good, why did you bring? Why would you pay him that much? Of course, like his whole contract is performance based. They could literally cut him this year and owe him nothing. That's how his contract is structured. It's crazy. It's crazy, but it's true. It's a harsh truth in the NFL, and that's really what it comes down to. So that's a long episode. We talked about quarterbacks today, guys. Just mainly what's going around, what's who, like who's who, where's where, what's going on. My simple 2 cents, my simple takes on some of these guys. Some of these guys don't need to be talked about. Some of these guys are. Some of these guys will definitely become mid-season, week 5. You'll find out this guy starts. But I genuinely had fun. I genuinely enjoy this. I want to talk more NFL ball. I will definitely keep talking more NFL football. But for that, leave a like. If you listen this far, thank you so much. And yeah, for that being said, everybody take care. Have a good